Whether you are a boxing fan getting into the UFC or have just started following combat sports, this video will get you up to speed. So here is a list of some things that every new fan needs to know about the UFC. Many new fans make the mistake of thinking that MMA and UFC is the same thing. Actually, as the name suggests, mixed martial arts is a sport, which can be a mix of any other combat style. The UFC, on the other hand, is a promotion that organizes MMA fights. They are the biggest MMA promotion in the world, with the highest level athletes on their roster. If you want to be a UFC fan, you need to be able to tell who's winning in the fight, so learning about the scoring system is absolutely essential. Like boxing, the UFC also uses a 10-point must-scoring system, in which the winner of a round gets 10 points, and their opponent 9 or less. There are 3 octagon-side judges that score the fight, and a referee that officiates it. Rounds are scored on effective striking and grappling, followed by octagon control and aggression. Landing significant strikes or controlling an opponent on the ground from a dominant position has the most value. Apart from that, defending takedowns and strikes, controlling the octagon, and being the more aggressor also weighs the score in a fighter's favor. Next up, you need to know how many rounds different UFC fights have. Well, normal fights that aren't the main event or a championship fight have 3 5-minute rounds, whereas all main events and championship fights have 5 5-minute rounds, with 1-minute breaks between rounds for all fights. If you know how the scoring system works, you can get an idea of who's winning rounds. However, every fight doesn't go the full rounds. Some fights can even end in seconds, so you should know the ways in which a fight can end. The most common way for a fight to end before the time is either a knockout or submission. Knockouts are simple enough. When the fighter falls on the ground after getting hit with a strike and cannot continue to defend themselves, that is a knockout. A technical knockout, or TKO, happens when a fighter is taking a lot of beating without defending themselves or returning offense. In such a situation, the referee can step in and stop the fight, declaring the winner by TKO. Submissions happen when a fighter gives up because of a chokehold or some other submission that could cause extreme pain or lead to an injury. Technical submissions happen when a fighter doesn't tap out but loses consciousness because of a choke. After that, fights may also be stopped by the doctor or a fighter's corner if they believe that their fighter is unfit to continue. Lastly, a fight may also be stopped because of disqualification due to an intentional illegal strike that damages the ability of the opposing fighter to continue fighting. After the last question, you're probably thinking, which strikes are illegal in the UFC? Well, here's the answer. Eye pokes, groin strikes, fish hooking, pulling hair, scratching, and biting are illegal. Hitting an opponent on the back of the head is also illegal. You cannot kick or knee a grounded opponent to the head or throw downwards 12 to 6 elbows. Apart from that, almost all strikes are legal. Grabbing an opponent's shorts or gloves is also illegal. When you're watching the fights with your MMA buddies, you are going to hear them talk about the ranking of different fighters. The rankings are very important and determine who is going to challenge for the title, help with matchmaking, and overall gives us a general idea of a fighter's performance so far. Every weight division has its own rankings with a champion, and there is also the pound-for-pound rankings. Winning fights against higher-ranked opponents move a fighter up in the rankings, and losing fights brings them down. Usually, the number 1 contender or someone from the top 5 gets the title shot, unless there's an interim champion in the division, in which case a title unification fight happens first. Another term that you'll hear a lot in the MMA and boxing community is pound for pound. So what does it actually mean? Well, as the name suggests, these are the overall rankings for the best fighters in the UFC, regardless of weight class. The fighter on the top of the UFC pound-for-pound rankings is considered the best MMA fighter in the world at that time. Interim titles are quite common in the UFC. Now, every division in the UFC has a champion. However, when the champion is injured or cannot fight for a long time, the UFC can pair two of the top contenders in the division to fight for an interim title. This keeps the division moving, and when the champion returns, the interim champion is a mandatory opponent for them. In some situations, if the champion is gone for too long, the interim champion may even defend their title, but that has only happened once in the UFC. In some situations, the champion can even be stripped of their title, and in that case, the interim champion is promoted to the regular champion of the division.